Hi everybody, my name is Hannah and this is Pepper and Pine. Today I want to share with you the book called Fatima al Samarqandi. This is an inspiring story of a female Muslim hero from the 12th century. She was a scholar, a jurist, and an advisor to the king. So what I love about this book is that you are getting a glimpse, a biography written in a really beautiful manner of a female scholar, a female hero, truly, advisor to the king, a jurist from the past. This is from the 12th century. And what we, in my opinion, don't have enough of are books like these, not just for our daughters, but for our sons as well. It's really important that when we are focusing on female biographies of the past, that we're not just reading these to our daughters, but we're also reading them to our sons. And if you are in a school setting where you have both girls and boys, then I think it's really important to include female biographies, because we do have a surplus of the male biographies. We do have scientists and discoverers and explorers and inventors of the past that are men, but oftentimes we see that there aren't as many not enough books or literature focusing on the women. So I am especially happy for this book. I think the content is superb. And I also want to point out something in case you haven't seen a book illustrated this way. You'll notice that all of the faces are left blank, and this is purposeful. Throughout the book, you're going to see this as well. And this is a book that is written and illustrated by a Muslim. This book is written by Farhat Jahan Saeed, and it is illustrated by Muhammad Hassan. And in Islam, there is an opinion that humans should and animals should not be illustrated. And so some of the ways to illustrate humans and animals is to leave them without a face. And this is a preference for some people, and for others it may not be a preference. But in case you were curious about why the book was illustrated that way, that is the reason. And so that is one thing that you may not be familiar with. You may not see other books that way. There are others that I've seen, and so I just wanted to point that out in case that was new for you. Now, what I also really love about this book is that it is like reading a biography written in a really beautiful way. It's written in a picture book format, in an illustrated book format, but not in a book written at a very young, the books that are like for kindergartners, where there may only be 1 or 2 sentences a page. Those are not the books that I prefer. Even if I am reading aloud to a kindergartner, I much prefer books like these. I don't particularly like the books that are super simple in that way. There are a few exceptions, but for the most part, these are the kinds of books that I absolutely love. I find that illustrated books like these are often undervalued and overlooked. They are such a rich resource, and you also get the illustrations as well. What I have found, however, is that a lot of times my children, when I'm reading them a book like this, they're often not sitting and looking at the illustrations, even though I thought that they would, especially when there is a reference to the illustration. And in this case, there wouldn't be much of a reference specifically to the illustrations, but in some of my other books, I find that my children usually are playing while they're listening. One other thing to note is that children can comprehend at a much higher rate, or a much higher level rather, than their reading level. And also we need to remember that we need to be speaking and reading at a more advanced level for our children so they can learn and rise to that level. And so if you even have young children, you're like, oh, I'm not sure if this book will be suitable because it seems more advanced, then I think that it's still important to read these books aloud. You yourself, as the reader, will be learning as you read, and hopefully your children will probably pick up more than you do, honestly, as you read aloud. Something else that's really amazing about this book is that it feels like it is 3 books in one. Going through the entire biography of Fatima al Samarqandi, you'll find that it was such a rich, robust life that this book could have stopped several times. It could have been a series. It is so rich. And as I was going through the book, I was like, oh, the book's going to end here. And we kept going. I'm like, oh, the book will end here. And it kept going throughout her whole entire life. So this was a long read. I'm a bit of a slow reader. I want to say that it took about a half an hour, approximately, and maybe even more. I'm not sure. And so it was one of those books that would be an amazing resource to supplement this time period if you are studying I suppose it would be the late Middle Ages if you're doing a European block and you wanted to include the Golden Age of Islam or other parts of the world. This book would fit in perfectly. So you're looking at late Middle Ages, and you're looking at a really exciting, thriving time in the Muslim lands. The other thing that is really beautiful about this book is that as you're going through it and reading, I feel like I would be really inspired. I'm inspired by the triumphs that this woman has made, and I'm hoping that my listeners, boys and girls, but specifically my daughter, is also inspired. What I think we're really missing from our understanding in today's world of scholars is how prevalent and important and impactful female scholars were. And I find that either it's the resources that I'm using, or maybe it's just the overarching opinion that it just permeates society, is that the female scholars are either overlooked or they're not honored in the way that I feel that they should be. And especially today, there seems to be an oversight of the benefit and the scholarliness that female scholars can bring to the table. And so I love just how strong of a female, I don't want to say character, but a person Fatima was, because I feel like we need those role models. We need them in our real life today, but I think we also need them in our literature to be inspired by. I hope that you enjoyed this look at Fatima al Samarqandi, an inspiring story of a female Muslim hero from the 12th century. I hope that you'll check out the blog post that accompanies this video so you can get more information on this book, as well as links to where you can find it. And if you'd like to see what we're reading on a daily basis, you can find me on my website at pepperandpine.com.